Thinking Aloud. Conversations on the leading edge of knowledge and discovery with psychologist Jeffrey Mishlove.
Hello and welcome. I'm Jeffrey Mishlove. This is part 3 of our 3-part series with Dr. Chris H. Hardy on the infinite spiral staircase. Dr. Hardy is an anthropological psychologist. She is also a parapsychology researcher. She is the author of many books, including Cosmic DNA at the Origin, The Sacred Network, and Networks of Meaning. In this interview, we're going to focus in on her recent work on cosmic DNA at the origin. Welcome again, Chris.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
We talked about in our first interview of this 3-part series how you began your career as a young person fresh out of college, wandering through India and Africa, living like a sadhu, experiencing mystical states of consciousness and directly perceiving psychic fields that you came to label telepathic, harmonic fields and semantic fields. Then you went back to academia, became a systems theorist, a psychological anthropologist, and developed your semantic field theory as a very innovative approach to interpreting how parapsychological phenomena occur, because you'd experienced these phenomena yourself and also in the laboratory. Now we're going to look at the relationship between semantic field theory and physics and cosmology. As I understand it, you were guided to move in this direction through dream experiences.
Yes, I had some interesting dreams and also occurrences, synchronicities. That took me, towards this research. But I was the turning point where I really got involved creatively with the subject was when I discovered the Enigma of the Planck scale. Mm-hmm. And reading through cosmology books, because the Planck scale is an infinitely small scale where before which you cannot have particles, and you cannot therefore have matter. And if you don't have particles, you don't have space and you don't have time.
Now, let me just be clear, because as I understand it, it is extremely small, but not infinitely small.
No, not infinitely small.
Right? It is a finite measurement.
Yes. It's a finite measurement, which happens at the same time within each particle. Mm-hmm. And the Planck scale compared to a particle is extremely small.
Yes.
Okay, and then you have it also happening at the origin of the universe. Mm-hmm. Before Planck scale, you did not have any particles, matter, space, and time.
That's where we get the idea of the quantum. The Planck scale defines a quantum unit.
Yes, that's how Planck found the Planck scale. He was the one to make this research.
The beginning of quantum physics.
Yes, and so when you have this Planck scale, and you know that you can have matter only after Planck scale, and we are at a fraction. At the origin, we are at a fraction of a second of the first second of the universe.
At the Big Bang.
Yeah, it's before the Big Bang. Planck scale is before the inflation phase, where the universe, the size of the universe bloated like 10 power 50 times in a split instant.
And in other words, prior to the Big Bang, the universe itself was, one might say, really infinitely small, much smaller than the Planck scale.
Yes, and it gets to near infinite because it gets into the singularity of this white hole, you know, which is the opposite of a black hole, and it would be this is how Hawking and Penrose were modeling the origin as the opposite of a black hole.
Yes, the idea being if you take a black hole and run the movie backwards,
exactly,
you get a white hole.
Exactly, with the matter being thrust out of the white hole instead of being crushed into the black hole.
It's another way to think of the Big Bang.
Yes, but we are talking about before the Big Bang.
Yes,
and then the cosmologists are now confronted since a few years, you know, with two enormous enigma because the inflation, understanding the inflation, was not so long ago, you know. But now we are understanding that before Planck scale, we don't have, as I said, neither matter, neither space, neither time. Therefore, the new frontier of the research on cosmology is a big question. If there is no matter before Planck scale, what is there before Planck scale to start the process of the universe? Because you need an energy before the inflation phase, before the Big Bang, for the universe to explode, you know, to bloat like that. You need an energy for it to bloat. It cannot just bloat out of nothing.
In other words, scientists are beginning to ask a very fundamental question, a question that has been addressed in the great spiritual literature of humanity. What started it all?
That's it. That's exactly that. This infinite spiral staircase theory is blending the discoveries in physics with the very, very ancient concept of a collective cosmic consciousness, you know. And as we talked last time in our interview, that each being in the universe has a semantic field, and all the semantic field of all beings and the object in the universe are interacting through a kind of semantic dimension, and everyone is exchanging information, and all of them are inter-influencing. They are influencing each other, because you don't have an exchange of information without having an exchange of influence. You know, you don't have if you consider the universe as a whole, you know, a whole system, like a hologram, you know. Each part would be influencing the other part. And my theory falls into also not only the hyperdimensional kind of theories, but also into the holographic kind of theory.
Meaning that every part of the hologram reflects the whole.
Every part, yes. Every part has the information of the whole, and the whole is interacting with every part.
So earlier in our second interview, you talked about how through semantic field theory, we are partaking of the collective consciousness of the planet and the collective consciousness of humanity and all the animals and plants on this planet. But now as we approach cosmology, it would seem as if in addition to our planetary consciousness, we partake of the consciousness of the galaxy and of many galaxies of the known universe. And I imagine you're going to even go so far as to suggest other universes.
Yes, I suggest that the energy, which is a big question that they don't ask, but it is an enormous question. Where comes from the energy to start the universe? And I propose that it start from a previous universe who have made system viables, you know, through a long evolution through this whole universe, and it is giving us a field, an enormous field of information, a semantic, their own semantic field as a global universe is coming to be from a black hole of a previous universe.
In other words, a previous universe collapsed into a black hole, resulting ultimately in the birth of the universe in which we now find ourselves.
Yes, but with an additional, this is a normal Hawking-Penrose kind of black hole theory.
Yes.
But what my theory brings is that instead of just matter being crushed, you have a translation of matter into a hyperdimension of information, of consciousness.
Yes.
So that all systems that are being crushed into the black holes become a field, a semantic field containing the information of this system and its whole evolution in the previous universe. So that the information we have is like a cosmic DNA at the origin. We are receiving the knowledge and the experience of a whole universe previous to our own, and all those information fields that are semantic fields that are going to be the core of all the systems, and the particles, and the atoms, and the you know.
And as I understand your work, you're suggesting that this amazing semantic field that contains all of the information of a previous universe, and I guess as well the information of our own, is akin to what the ancient mystical teachings would call the Akashic Records.
Exactly. And it is a type of, a sort of cosmic DNA. Because we have the information on all the system. Like in our own individual DNA, we have the information about all organs, human DNA, all the organs, the brain, the cells, the differentiation, different cells and everything. And we are able to reproduce a new organism from this tiny DNA of the first cell. Okay? And similarly, I'm not alone. I must mention that Lee Smolin. Yes, and also Jack Sarfati.
Yes.
And Wheeler, John Wheeler.
Archibald Wheeler. They all have similar theories.
Yes, similar, yes. Especially Lee Smolin, who is having this idea that we had a previous universe, you know, on our universe is budding from a previous one.
It's a bud of a previous universe, and based on
from a terminal black hole. Also.
Based on that theory, I believe he's suggesting we might be able to discover traces of such a previous universe.
At the origin, I put a golden spiral, you know, which would be like a huge data bank, but not in 0 and 1, not a binary code, but in terms of frequency. This is why I call it the infinite spiral staircase. It's like a helicoidal staircase, and on each step of this staircase, you would have a specific frequency that is on the golden ratio of the ancient Greeks and Egyptians.
Greek golden ratio.
Yes.
So what you're saying, I mean, in terms of consciousness, if I can bring it back there, is that as you described your perceptions of the telepathic harmonic energy that you experienced in your youth, we have the capability of perceiving consciously a universe that existed prior to the Big Bang, and maybe an infinite spiral of universes that existed prior to that one.
Well, that's going very, very far in the past.
Yes.
But I do believe that it is quite possible if this theory is correct. And we have indeed a near infinite spiral staircase with an immense data bank of frequencies. Mm-hmm. All this before Planck scale. Mm-hmm. And we would have on these frequencies the information of all systems in a previous universe, and we would still be using a very small part of the capacities of this near infinite spiral staircase. Mm-hmm. And at that point, we would be evolving our own systems. Mm-hmm. But what is interesting is that this field of information that is from the terminal black hole of the previous universe, the anti-ISS, the anti-infinite spiral staircase, mm-hmm. and our own that is opening like a white hole, yes. which is our own infinite spiral staircase. If you take the two like an X mm-hmm. Double funnel, mm-hmm. you know, if you
funnel going in, the collapse of the black hole, and another funnel going out, the white hole, the birth of a new universe.
Yes. Uh-huh. If you take this, we would be in a hyperdimension mm-hmm. Of in between universe, that is beyond the universe, mm-hmm. and it is also a hyperdimension that exists in all beings. It is what I was calling before the semantic field of people. Mm-hmm. Our self, our soul, you know, our self with a big S, as Jung called them, our soul, our Atman, mm-hmm. you know, and all those souls of, including of, trees and animals and,
mm-hmm. You have a vision here, and more than a vision, a theory.
Yes.
That is essentially a theory of the human soul larger than I had ever imagined before.
Yes, yes. And yes, because now we have the soul of the universe. Mm-hmm. The soul of the universe, the anima, the cosmic anima being the Latin for soul, mm-hmm. as Jung loved to call it, you know. Yes. The cosmic anima is a very ancient concept mm-hmm. that you find in all Eastern religion, in shamanism, and it's like in the Greek philosophers like Plotinus. Yes. Mm-hmm. So it is the soul of the cosmos, the cosmic mm-hmm. soul.
Yes.
And or the arc anima. And so this cosmic soul would not be a personal God, but would be a collective consciousness mm-hmm. that each of us are part of. Mm-hmm. And we are all co-creating something, a being that is bigger and larger and more knowledgeable than all of us, mm-hmm. but we are still the cells that are forming the being mm-hmm. that is including us all.
And I gather from our earlier conversations about the higher states of consciousness that you experienced early in your life that one's ability to appreciate and to apprehend the richness and the vastness of this cosmic anima is dependent to some degree on our ability to open up our higher organs of sensitivity, our higher chakras.
Well, definitely. However, the meditative and the chakra opening mm-hmm. Path is not the only path. Mm-hmm. The path of connection with our own inner being, inner soul, you know, inner mm-hmm. self, is can be as Hindu had known it, and the Tibetans also. They have many paths of yoga, you know, mm-hmm. yoga of the dream, the yoga of posture, the mm-hmm. Kundalini yoga, mm-hmm. knowledge yoga, devotion yoga, you know.
And even simple things like Zen Buddhism and be here now.
Yes, mm-hmm. of course. Yeah. Yes, it's called royal yoga in the Hindu tradition. Mm-hmm. So it's a yoga of being absolutely aware of in the present moment. It is a path. So, if you take the path of collective consciousness, like in telepathic harmonic field, of which we talk in another interview, then you would know that I would call this a harmony path, a path of harmonic resonance. And you can have this harmonic resonance with the buildings, with location, as we were talking about Nasik, for example, and the telepathic harmonic field of all ascetics since millennia, in this precise place.
And
you
even
could have
ascetics
this
of other universes.
You go very far. I'm not going that far.
Well,
I'm going to the beginning, and I believe, I believe that if this theory is true, we would be able to find at least the traces of the information about just the previous universe to our own.
I see. Well, I have to say, listening to you, I feel just personally fascinated by the idea that there is somewhere within me the seed of a consciousness that could encompass the birth and death of many universes.
Well,
that there must be a wisdom in that that transcends, of course. Maybe I'm just getting too metaphysical here.
No. I believe that it's impossible. This is a belief. I believe that it is impossible that so many religions, so many wise people, for so many millennia, have figured out a texture of reality as being a cosmic consciousness, and as being mostly consciousness and spirit, without it having some kind of reality.
You are grounding it in
also
what has to be leading edge cosmological and physical theory, and also combining it with your work in systems theory and in semantics.
Yes.
That's really very impressive unification. Of course, there are many details. I know you go into mathematical models and very complex physical theories to strengthen your argument. So I can only encourage our viewers who are so motivated to read your books. Will never be able to go into those details in an interview like this, but it's important for people to know that you have done it.
Well, I tried I had to explain to myself and to understand a lot of things because it's not my background. So I believe that I was able to explain it the same way to other people. And the very, very important part in terms of a theory of cosmology, and I'm here with John Wheeler, Jack Sarfati, and Liz Moline, and especially Wheeler and Sarfati, who are proposing a participatory universe. So instead of the materialistic paradigm that we have now, where people think that the only matter exists, but I'm sorry, matter is only 5% of the total energy of the universe. 95% is either dark energy or dark matter, both of which we know practically nothing. So the materialistic paradigm, for me, is totally finished.
And we've already described in our second interview of this 3-part series how your philosophy is essentially panpsychist. You see consciousness at every level.
Yes, at every level, because a particle has a semantic field, a hyperdimensional level, and a mouse also, and the same for each of us, and so basically we are all basing, our feet are in space-time, our bodies are in space-time, but our spirits and minds, as the ancients have understood, they are part of this semantic dimension, which is, in my cosmology, is just the hyperdimension of the cosmos, based with consciousness energy.
And you're talking about a physical hyperdimension or higher dimension of space itself, wherein these semantic fields reside.
Yes, and I have a three-bread hyperdimension. I have hyperspace, hypertime, and consciousness forming the hyperdimension, the cosmic hyperdimension.
Like a braid.
Yes.
Woven together.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Chris H. Hardy, it has been a great pleasure sharing this 3-part interview series with you. The range and scope of your thought is, I have to say, it's truly staggering, and I'm very honored to be here with you.
Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure for me to be able to express and discuss with you. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for being with us.